The morning sun rose slowly over the quiet town, and a gentle breeze moved through the empty street where a woman named Mira rolled her wheelchair toward the small community clinic with calm hope in her heart, because today was her checkup, and she wanted to make sure her baby was healthy and safe as she moved with steady hands guiding her wheels over the smooth path, while she hummed softly to keep herself relaxed even though she knew walking or standing for long periods was no longer possible for her due to an old accident that had changed her life, yet it had never taken away her strength or spirit, and she continued forward with courage because her child meant everything to her, and she wanted to give that child every chance in the world. Across town, a policeman named Adam was beginning his shift, and he took his duty very seriously because he believed that keeping people safe was not just a job, but a promise he had made to himself long ago after he had lost someone close in a situation that still troubled his mind, and even though he worked with calm focus, he sometimes reacted too quickly when he sensed danger, and today his heart was already heavy because he had received a call about a possible threat near the community clinic. And he rushed toward the area since he did not want anything to harm the people there, especially families and children. Mira continued moving forward while holding a small bag on her lap containing her medical papers and a bottle of water, and she looked around at the peaceful street, not knowing that a misunderstanding was silently building in the distance, as a group of bystanders had mistakenly reported a suspicious person moving toward the clinic, and they had described the figure only as someone rolling slowly with something covered on their lap, and one person had panicked and told the police that it might be dangerous, even though there was nothing dangerous at all because the person they saw was only Mira with her soft blanket covering her medical papers so the sunlight would not fade the ink. Adam received the message while he was already close to the clinic, and he felt a rush of urgency move through him as he stepped out of his car and scanned the street with serious eyes, and when he saw Mira approaching he misunderstood the blanket and the shape of the bag under it, and he thought it might be something harmful, and because he had no clear information he believed he needed to act quickly to protect others, and he moved toward her with sharp steps while calling out for her to stop, not knowing that Mira could not hear very well because her hearing aid was weak that morning, and the traffic noise behind her covered his voice. Mira kept moving, and her soft humming continued as she stayed focused on reaching the clinic door while her mind drifted to her baby and all the dreams she held for the life ahead, and she did not see Adam approaching fast from the side, nor did she see his concern turning into urgency as he reached her wheelchair and placed his hand on the handle to stop her movement, which startled her because she had not seen anyone around, and she looked up at him with confusion spreading across her face. Adam misunderstood her startled expression as resistance, and he exclaimed something again which she still could not hear, and she instinctively tried to pull her hands back as the wheelchair moved slightly, and Adam reacted quickly, grabbing the side of the chair to steady it, because he was sure the situation was dangerous, and his heart raced with the thought that he might be preventing something harmful, but in truth he was misunderstanding everything. And Mira felt her breath tighten as she wondered why a policeman would come at her with such force when she was only going to her appointment. A couple of people passing by saw the moment and gasped because it looked like the officer was acting too quickly, and one woman stepped forward, but she hesitated, unsure if she should interrupt, and Mira tried to speak, but her voice shook as she tried to explain that she was only going to the clinic, and that she was pregnant and needed no trouble, but the officer was still focused on what he thought might be a threat, and he moved to remove the blanket from her lap, which startled her again, and she raised her hands in a small protective gesture over her belly. Adam froze for a moment as he saw her hands move, and he interpreted it the wrong way, believing she was hiding something dangerous, and he moved with more urgency as he tried to take the blanket, and in that moment, it looked to everyone like he was acting against a woman who clearly needed care, and not confrontation, and Mira felt fear growing inside her, even though she tried to stay calm for the sake of her baby, and she whispered a soft plea for him to slow down, though she still doubted he heard her. The moment grew tense as a worker from the clinic stepped outside after hearing the raised voices, and she recognized Mira at once, and she rushed forward calling out loudly that Mira was a patient, and that she was pregnant and needed gentle help, and the sound finally reached Adam clearly as he paused his action, and turned to see the clinic worker waving her arms with urgency, and he blinked several times trying to understand what was happening, because his mind had been filled with the false report, and he realized that something was not matching the picture he had created in his head. Mira looked at him with wide eyes filled with confusion and fear, and Adam felt a strange twist inside his chest as he saw her hand gently resting on her belly with clear worry etched across her face, and the clinic worker kept explaining that Mira was there for her appointment, and that she meant no harm to anyone, and slowly the misunderstanding began to clear from Adam's mind as he realized he had acted too fast and had let the false report push him into a rush of fear and protective instinct. And he felt a sense of regret rising inside him. For a moment, the street stayed silent as Adam stepped back from the wheelchair, allowing Mira to breathe freely again, and she looked down trying to calm herself while one hand stayed over her belly, and Adam looked at the blanket he had tried to pull away, and he felt a heavy wave of guilt move through him as he understood how frightening this moment must have been for her, especially in her condition. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words did not come easily as he tried to find a way to make things right, and Mira looked at him again, wondering what he would say next, and the air around them felt tense but slowly shifting as the misunderstanding faded. And this was the moment when Adam finally realized that he had no idea who Mira truly was or what silent strength she carried within her, and he also did not know that this meeting would change both their lives in ways none of them could imagine yet. The air around them felt heavy as Adam stood there trying to gather his thoughts while Mira slowly steadied her breathing because the moment of fear still echoed inside her chest, even though she knew the danger was not real, and the clinic worker who had rushed outside moved closer to her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder, and telling her that everything was fine now, and that she was safe, and Mira nodded softly, though her hands still trembled because she had not expected the morning to unfold in such a confusing way, and her heart was beating faster than usual, making her feel light-headed for a second, but she did her best to stay calm for the tiny life she carried. Adam looked down at the ground for a short moment and then back at Mira, and he felt a deep pressure inside because he realized that his misunderstanding had caused fear to someone who already faced challenges every day, and he stepped forward, slowly lowering his voice so it would sound calm and gentle, and he apologized to her, saying he misread the situation and acted too quickly, and that he had been responding to a false report from someone who thought there might be danger near the clinic, and Mira listened quietly as he spoke, and her eyes softened a little because she could hear the sincerity in his voice, even though the fear inside her had not completely settled. She told him that she did not hear him calling earlier because her hearing aid needed new batteries and she planned to replace them after the appointment, and Adam felt another small wave of regret wash over him because he imagined how it must have felt for her to see someone rush toward her without understanding why, and he nodded gently, telling her he should have approached more carefully and made sure she could hear him before taking action, and the clinic worker agreed softly while reminding Mira that she should come inside soon for her checkup because too much stress could affect her health. Before Mira rolled forward, she took a moment to look at Adam again because something in his eyes showed a depth she had not expected, and even though she did not have the energy to think too deeply about it, she sensed that he was not a careless man but someone who carried his own burdens and acted with a heavy heart that sometimes confused his judgment, and Adam also felt something shift inside him because he saw that Mira did not respond with anger but with calm grace despite everything, and it made him want to understand more about the woman who had shown so much strength even in fear. She moved her wheelchair toward the clinic entrance, and Adam instinctively stepped to the side, giving her space, but he stayed near because he wanted to make sure she got inside safely after the stressful moment, and he felt responsible for her even though he had only known her for a few minutes, and as she reached the ramp leading to the door he offered assistance, but she gently declined, telling him she could manage, and that she had learned long ago how to move with confidence even when things became difficult, and he respected her words and watched as she performed each movement with steady control. Inside the clinic, the reception area was warm and bright, and the soft sound of people waiting filled the room, and Mira checked in with the nurse, who immediately asked if she was feeling dizzy or uneasy because they had seen her come in with tension in her expression, and she told them she was fine and only needed a moment to breathe, and she placed her hands gently over her belly while taking slow breaths and feeling her baby move softly as if offering comfort from within. Adam waited outside for a while, leaning against his car while replaying the misunderstanding again and again in his mind, and he wondered how often people judged situations too quickly without knowing the person in front of them, and he felt an unexpected urge to make sure Mira felt respected and understood because something told him that her life had not been easy and that she had overcome many challenges with quiet strength, and he felt he owed her a moment of kindness after the fear he had caused. He stood there for several minutes until the clinic worker stepped out to throw something away, and he asked her about Mira in a gentle tone, making sure he did not sound intrusive, and the worker smiled kindly, telling him that Mira was a strong woman who had faced difficulty with courage after an accident years ago, and that she always came for her appointments on her own even when tired because she wanted to take responsibility for her health and her baby, and Adam listened with quiet attention, feeling a deeper respect grow in him with every word. Inside the clinic, Mira sat on the examination table while the doctor checked her heartbeat and comforted her with calm words explaining that stress could cause her pulse to rise, but everything seemed fine now, and the baby was safe, and she felt relief spread through her chest, and she thanked the doctor for his gentle tone as he reminded her to rest for a while before leaving because the day had clearly begun with strong emotions, and she nodded, feeling the advice settle softly in her mind. When the appointment ended, Mira moved back toward the entrance, and as the door slid open she saw Adam still standing near his car looking thoughtful, and for a moment she wondered why he was still there because he had no duty to stay, but as she rolled out into the sunlight, he straightened and walked toward her slowly with the same gentle expression he had shown earlier, and she could tell he wanted to make sure she was all right, and a small part of her appreciated that even though the morning had been overwhelming. He asked her softly if she was feeling better, and she nodded, telling him the doctor said everything was fine, and he felt relief spread through him like warmth across his shoulders, and he apologized again, but with calmer words this time, explaining that he wanted to understand what had gone wrong so he could avoid such mistakes in the future, and she listened patiently because she could see that he was not trying to justify himself but trying to learn, and she told him that misunderstandings happen, especially when fear enters a situation too quickly. She then shared a small piece of her story, telling him how her accident had changed her mobility but not her hope, and that she wanted her baby to grow up seeing strength instead of fear, and Adam felt something in her words touch a place deep inside him because he also carried memories that shaped the way he reacted to danger, and he suddenly wondered if fate had placed her in his path to teach him something he had forgotten about patience and understanding. A gentle silence settled between them as Mira adjusted her bag on her lap, and Adam took one step forward, asking if she needed help getting home because he wanted to make sure she reached safely after the stressful encounter, but she hesitated, unsure if accepting help would make her appear weak, and he assured her softly that it was not out of pity but out of respect and responsibility, and after a few moments she agreed because the morning had tired her more than she expected. Adam carefully moved behind her wheelchair, making sure she was comfortable before guiding her toward his patrol car, and he felt a sense of purpose rise inside him because this time he was not acting out of fear but out of understanding, and Mira felt a strange calm settle over her as she realized that the man who had frightened her earlier now seemed determined to make things right, and she wondered where this unexpected turn in her day would lead. Neither of them knew that this simple ride would be the beginning of something bigger, something that would reveal truths hidden behind both their lives and change the way they saw each other forever. The ride to Myra's home began with quiet air surrounding them as Adam drove slowly through the peaceful streets while Mira sat in the back seat holding her small bag on her lap and trying to calm her thoughts because even though the morning had taken an unexpected turn, she did not want to let fear stay in her heart for too long, and she kept reminding herself that her baby needed her to stay relaxed and strong, and she breathed gently while looking out the window at the passing houses, thinking about how life could change in moments without warning. Adam kept glancing at the rear mirror every now and then, not in a worried way but in a gentle protective way because he wanted to be sure that Mira was comfortable, and he felt a strange connection forming, even though he had only met her earlier in a situation filled with misunderstanding and tension, and he realized that he wanted to understand her more and learn why she carried so much quiet strength in her eyes and why her presence made him feel a calm he had not felt in a long time. When they reached her small apartment building, Adam parked carefully near the ramp and stepped out to help her, even though he knew she could handle the wheelchair on her own, but today had been draining for her, and he respected that she might need a little support, and Mira accepted his help without hesitation because she understood that kindness was not weakness, and the morning had already shown her that trying to handle everything alone could sometimes bring more stress than needed. As he guided her up the ramp, he noticed how neatly the small building was kept, and he wondered how Mira managed everything on her own because living alone while pregnant and using a wheelchair must have been challenging, yet nothing in her actions showed complaint or frustration, and her quiet determination made him think about the way he approached his own life, always rushing, always reacting, always trying to fix situations before fully understanding them. When they reached her door, she unlocked it and invited him inside for a moment because she wanted to thank him properly, and she also felt a small need for company after the stressful morning, and Adam hesitated for a second out of respect, but then agreed because he sensed that his presence might bring her a little comfort, and he stepped inside carefully, taking in the warm and simple home filled with soft colors and small decorations that showed gentle personality and peaceful taste. Mira moved to the small kitchen area and set her bag down while telling him that she would make tea if he had time, and he nodded slowly, feeling that staying for a short moment might help both of them reflect on what had happened, and she prepared the tea with steady hands, even though her mind still carried the memory of the misunderstanding, and she wondered if she should share more about her life or keep the conversation light because she did not want him to feel uncomfortable. As they sat at the small table, the warm tea filled the room with calm fragrance, and Adam finally asked the question that had been on his mind. Ever since he learned a bit about her accident, he asked gently how she had found the strength to move forward after such a life-changing event, and Mira looked at him with soft eyes because she did not often talk about her past, but something about his question felt sincere, and she felt safe enough to answer. She told him that her accident happened years ago when she was traveling for work, and the injuries changed her mobility forever, but the moment she learned she would need a wheelchair for the rest of her life, she decided that she would not let it define the way she lived, or the dreams she wanted to chase, and she shared how her family lived far away, and how she learned to handle daily life independently because she wanted to prove to herself that she still had strength inside her even when the world looked different. Adam listened quietly without interrupting because her words held weight, and they opened a door inside his heart where he had locked away his own pain years ago, and when she finished he told her softly that he respected her courage, and he admired her ability to continue forward with such calm strength, and she smiled gently because it was rare for anyone to see her that way, and she felt her chest lighten a little as if someone had finally understood a piece of her story. Then Mira asked him why he reacted so quickly earlier, why he thought danger was so near, and his expression changed slightly as he leaned back in his chair and took a slow breath because he had not spoken about his past in a long time, and he told her that years ago he had lost a close friend during a situation where help arrived late because someone had hesitated, and ever since that day he promised himself he would never wait even a second if he believed someone might be in danger, and he explained how this promise turned into a habit of acting too fast, even in situations that later proved to be harmless. Mira understood his pain because she knew how past wounds shaped present actions, and she told him gently that his heart was in the right place, but sometimes the desire to protect could cloud judgment and cause fear where there was none, and Adam nodded slowly because hearing it from someone who carried her own strength made the words settle deeply inside him, and he realized he had allowed his fear of repeating the past to guide his reactions today. A quiet moment passed between them, and Mira placed her hand softly over her belly, feeling her baby move, and she smiled because it reminded her that peace always returned after storms, and Adam noticed her smile and felt warmth spread in his chest because he sensed that this meeting was meant to teach him something he had forgotten about trust, patience, and understanding. After finishing tea, Mira thanked him again for staying and helping her reach home safely, and he told her it was no trouble at all, and that he wanted to make sure she felt fully at ease after everything, and she looked at him with gratitude because his presence had changed from a source of fear to a source of comfort in only a few hours, and this shift surprised her more than she expected. Adam stood up ready to leave, but when he reached the door he hesitated for a moment because something in his heart urged him to say more, so he turned back toward her and asked softly if he could check on her later in the week just to be sure she was doing well, and Mira felt a small warmth in her chest because no one had asked her that in a long time, and she nodded, telling him she would appreciate it, and he gave a gentle smile before stepping outside. As the door closed behind him, Mira sat quietly in the living room letting everything settle in her mind, and she realized that the man who had frightened her earlier had also shown her a kind and thoughtful side that revealed depth she had not expected, and she wondered why she felt a strange sense of calm now, as if something meaningful had begun to form between them. Adam walked down the ramp toward his car with slow steps, thinking about the morning, and how one misunderstanding had led him to meet someone who carried strength and softness in equal measure, and he felt a quiet pull inside him, urging him to understand her more, and be part of her world, even if only as someone who cared for her well-being. Neither of them knew that the days ahead would bring them closer in ways neither had imagined, and that the truth hidden behind this unexpected bond would soon reveal something that would change everything they thought they knew. The next few days passed with a gentle rhythm as Mira tried to focus on her appointments and rest while keeping her mind calm for her baby, and although she continued her usual routines, she noticed that her thoughts returned often to the unexpected meeting with Adam, and she wondered why his presence stayed in her mind, because she had met many people before, yet none had created such a strong shift inside her heart in such a short time, and she realized that his apology and kindness had touched something deep within her, something that had been quiet for a long time. On the third morning there was a soft knock on her door, and she moved her wheelchair toward it with steady hands, wondering who it might be, and when she opened the door she saw Adam standing there holding a small bag of groceries with a gentle smile on his face, and he greeted her politely, asking if she was doing well today, and Mira felt warmth rise in her chest because she had not expected anyone to check on her, yet she felt grateful because she often handled things alone, and his presence brought a sense of comfort she had not known she needed. Adam stepped inside when she invited him, and placed the groceries on the kitchen counter, telling her that he brought them because he wanted to help her conserve energy and avoid unnecessary stress, and Mira thanked him softly because she understood that small acts carried great meaning, especially when offered with sincerity, and she watched him move carefully around her home with the same gentle awareness he had shown before, and she felt her heart settle in a peaceful way she had not experienced in a long time. They sat together for a few minutes talking about simple things like the weather and her upcoming appointments, and Adam told her that he had been thinking about their conversation and how much it had opened his eyes about rushing into situations without listening first, and he shared how he had spent the last few days reflecting on his habit of acting too quickly, and how he wanted to change that because meeting her had shown him the importance of understanding before assuming, and Mira listened with soft appreciation because she could hear honesty in every word he spoke. After some time she asked him gently why he carried such heavy responsibility in his heart, and he told her that years ago he had been unable to save someone he cared about, and that memory had followed him every day and pushed him to act without hesitation in every situation, and Mira understood that guilt sometimes wrapped itself around a person so tightly that it shaped their whole life, and she told him that courage was not only found in rushing forward, but also in learning to pause and breathe before acting, and he nodded because he felt the truth in her words. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft knock, and when Mira opened the door she found her neighbor standing there with a worried expression, asking if everything was fine because she had seen a police car outside earlier in the week, and wanted to make sure Mira had not faced trouble, and Mira reassured her gently, explaining that it had been a misunderstanding, and that Adam had helped her since then, and the neighbor looked relieved while glancing at him with gratitude and a bit of curiosity, because it was clear he cared for Myra's well-being. After the neighbor left, Adam helped Mira arrange a few things around the house, and while he moved a small shelf near the window he noticed a file resting on the table with papers inside, and when Mira saw him looking at it she explained that the papers contained statements from her old employer after her accident, and how they had supported her until she could learn to manage independent living, and Adam realized again how strong she had been through the years, because rebuilding life after such a change was never simple, yet she had faced it with grace. While they talked, Mira felt her baby move, and she smiled, placing her hand on her belly, and Adam watched the gentle expression on her face with a sense of admiration because he knew the world often made assumptions about people based on what they could or could not do, yet Myra's strength was something no one could overlook, and he felt a protective feeling rise inside him, not out of pity but out of respect for the strength she carried. As the day moved forward, Mira realized she needed to visit the clinic again for a routine check, and Adam offered to take her because he wanted to make sure the day went peacefully, and she accepted because she trusted him now in a way she had not expected. And when they reached the clinic, many people noticed the calm way he guided her wheelchair, and how Mira looked relaxed in his presence, and even the staff smiled because they could sense a quiet bond forming between the two. After the checkup, the doctor told Mira that her baby was growing well and that she should avoid stress as much as possible, and Mira smiled with relief because the reassurance meant everything to her, and Adam felt a lightness in his heart too because he wanted both her and the baby to remain safe, and he promised himself that he would do whatever he could to support her even if she did not ask. On their way back home, something unexpected happened as they passed through a busy street where a group of people stood waiting for a community event, and among them was the same bystander who had made the false report earlier, and when the woman recognized Mira she felt embarrassed and stepped forward with an apology, explaining that she had panicked that day and reported something she did not understand, and Mira forgave her kindly because she knew fear often made people act without thinking, and Adam also accepted the apology politely, even though he still carried the responsibility of his own actions that day. As they continued down the street, Mira felt a small wish forming in her heart, a wish for peace and stability not only for herself but also for the child she carried, and when they reached her home she invited Adam to stay for tea once more, and this time the air between them felt softer and more familiar, as if the distance between two separate lives had begun to close slowly and naturally. They talked about the future in gentle tones, about how Mira planned to prepare for the baby's arrival, and how Adam wanted to change the way he handled situations at work, and Mira encouraged him with quiet words, telling him that growth often came from moments of reflection, and not from moments of fear, and he told her that meeting her had been a turning point for him, something he had not expected, but something he valued deeply. As the afternoon light filled the room, Mira looked at Adam and realized that the man she had feared on the street had become someone she trusted, and someone who brought calm instead of worry, and Adam looked back at her with the same gentle warmth, feeling that their meeting had happened for a reason, and that perhaps life had given him another chance to protect someone, not through quick action but through understanding, patience, and presence. Before he left, he asked again if he could check on her in the coming days, and she agreed with a soft smile because she knew that his presence brought a sense of safety and comfort, and as he stepped outside, the peaceful glow of the evening settled over them, both carrying a promise of a new beginning. Mira knew that her life had changed since the day of the misunderstanding, and she felt grateful that something frightening had transformed into something meaningful, and Adam walked down the ramp with slow, thoughtful steps, knowing that meeting her had shifted something inside his heart, and that this connection might grow into something strong and beautiful with time. Both of them understood that life had brought them together in an unexpected way, and that this bond would stay with them, guiding them toward a future shaped not by fear but by trust, understanding, and gentle kindness.